Hello, I'm here with Catriona MacDonald, the SNP candidate for Edinburgh South. We've just been canvassing with Catriona here in Newington. Do you want to just tell us a bit about kind of the highs and lows of this particular canvassing session?
What we were seeing tonight was things that people were interested in was the SNP's really strong anti-Brexit message, for example, and a couple of people also mentioning, that they're a little bit unsure about the Labour Party's message on Brexit, and also that they're not particularly impressed with Jeremy Corbyn as the Labour leader.
When you tell people about what you do, is that something that people pick up on, or?
Yeah, I think people are really interested to have someone that's just kind of a normal person with a normal job that they can kind of relate to. There was a woman tonight who said that, running for Parliament was very brave, but then when I told her I owned a business, she was like, oh, that's very brave as well. So It's interesting how people respond to what it is once they find out that you're actually a person and not just the party or like a sort of cardboard cutout with a rosette stuck on, then people are a lot more interested in what you have to say.
As a young woman standing for the first time, what is it that motivated you to stand, and how do you kind of deal with the kind of difficulties that Westminster kind of poses for young women?
And I think it's absolutely disgraceful that women are being shut out of the most important discussion in politics that we'll probably see in our lifetime. The discussion around Brexit and independence is fundamentally important to women, and we need to be there. But it is a bit scary, I think. But the one thing that I do think is that none of this is coming from Edinburgh. None of this is coming from the constituencies. This is the rhetoric at Westminster. That's where it's coming from, and that's where we need to get to in order to just completely banish it. We need to replace the people there that are continuing this kind of abuse. When the Prime Minister stands up in Parliament and uses language like traitors and things like this, and then when a female MP calls him out, he rubbishes her as if that's something that's perfectly acceptable to do in a workplace. It wouldn't be acceptable in any other workplace, and it's not acceptable in our Parliament.
Obviously, Brexit is a big issue in this election, but independence is obviously a question that in Edinburgh particularly is quite tricky as an SNP candidate based on the 2014 results. So do you think Edinburgh is changing its mind on independence?
Yeah, in Edinburgh, nearly 75% of people voted to remain in the EU. That is a huge issue for people on the doorsteps. And in 2014, one of the main reasons for people voting against independence was that they were concerned about losing membership of the EU. And that was a promise that was made by the Better Together campaign, that a vote to remain in the UK was a vote to remain in the EU. And just a couple of years later, it turned out not to be true, and people feel very aggrieved about that. And even if it's not changing their minds on independence, it's definitely making them think about the issue again. Even tonight on the doors, we had a woman saying to us that if Brexit happens, she will vote for independence, which is quite a strong statement, in this area, which was just under 2/3 voted no. So when people are turning around and saying Brexit is such a big issue, it's changing my mind on Brexit, then I think that's really important for us to pick up on.
And did she say that she would vote SNP in this election?
No, she didn't. That was what was quite interesting. She was a Labour voter. So that's really interesting for us to find out that even people who are voting for a unionist party at this election are changing their minds on independence.